He gave her everything, his time, love, and loyalty, only to discover he was never more than a backup plan. When Leon finally walked away, he left behind not just a ring, but a legacy of quiet strength that transformed lives. What happened next will restore your faith in self-worth, redemption, and the power of letting go. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. Leon had always been the backbone, the one holding everyone else up, but nobody ever saw the weight he carried. Atlanta's steamy summers and biting winters had become a rhythm in his life. Work, provide, forgive, repeat. He worked 2 jobs, morning shifts at a logistics warehouse and nights driving a ride-share car, just to keep the lights on for his fiancée Tracy and her 8-year-old daughter Amara. Love, he told himself, meant sacrifice. And if he had to pour every ounce of his energy into making Tracy's life easier, that was what he'd do. From the outside, their life looked picture-perfect. Their apartment tucked into the heart of West End always smelled like Tracy's favorite vanilla candles. Their fridge was stocked. Amara never missed a field trip, and Tracy's friends envied the new shoes and the little gifts Leon brought home. Flowers, takeout, the small things that said, "I see you." But beneath the surface, something was always missing. Tracy's affection was conditional. When Leon made her laugh, she'd smile for a second, then glance at her phone and drift away. When he bought groceries for her mother, Tracy would shrug as if he was only doing what he was supposed to do. Her mother was worse, critical, sharp-tongued, always muttering about real men and how Leon didn't measure up. Leon thought it was just old wounds talking, that patience would change things. He'd seen too many people in his community give up on each other. He was determined not to be another statistic. Friends and coworkers noticed the signs. "Bruh, you good?" they'd ask when he stayed late at work, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. "You don't look happy, Leon." He'd laugh it off and change the subject. What else could he say? In his mind, he was the man Tracy and Amara needed, strong, stable, reliable. The idea that love could be a one-way street never crossed his mind. Not until much later. Amara was the bright spot in his life. She'd curl up on the couch with him on Saturday mornings, watching cartoons and asking endless questions about the world. She loved science, and Leon would scour thrift shops for old chemistry sets, eager to see her eyes light up when something fizzed or popped. He wanted to be the kind of man she could trust, the anchor in her life no matter what storms came. But the rest of the household felt like quicksand. Tracy would come home late, smelling faintly of perfume and liquor, her laughter echoing down the hall with her friends in tow. Sometimes Leon would hear them whispering in the kitchen, their voices lowering whenever he walked by. "He's too nice," one of them said. "A real man wouldn't put up with half that mess." Tracy never defended him. Birthdays and holidays were the hardest. Leon would plan special surprises, only for Tracy to scroll her phone through dinner or leave with her friends before dessert. On Christmas, he sat at the table surrounded by Tracy's family, listening to them talk about old times as if he wasn't even there. When he offered to help her mother, she waved him off. "I don't need your charity," she snapped. Even as she accepted the rent money he'd slipped into her purse. The final straw came on a rainy Thursday. Leon got off work early, a rare gift, and thought he'd surprise Tracy with dinner. He picked up her favorite Jamaican takeout and drove home humming along to the radio, trying to imagine the look on her face. But when he opened the apartment door, the sound of laughter hit him like a slap. He stepped quietly down the hall and stopped just outside the bedroom. Through the half-open door, He saw Tracy sprawled on the bed, glass of wine in hand, surrounded by her friends. "Girl, I'm telling you," Tracy said, her voice sharp. "I'll brutally dump him after he proposes. You know he's about to do it. He thinks he's slick." The women cackled, slapping the sheets, one of them mimicking Leon's careful voice. "Will you marry me, Tracy?" More laughter. Leon froze. The words burned into him, hot and cold all at once. He had pictured a future with Tracy. A family, a home full of warmth. But in that moment it all shattered. He saw himself through their eyes, not as a partner but as a punchline. The soft man, the fool. He felt his heart clench, then loosen, then finally let go. He didn't burst in. He didn't cry. He just turned away, walking out the door without a word. The rain had stopped, leaving the city fresh and raw. For hours, Leon sat in his car on Peachtree Street, staring at the skyline, letting the pain settle. He called his brother Trey just to hear another voice. "I'm done," Leon whispered. "I can't do this anymore." Trey listened, silent, then said, "You deserve better. Come stay with me if you need to, but do it for yourself." For the first time in years, Leon let himself think about what he wanted, not what everyone else needed. By sunrise, he had a plan. He'd go through the motions at home for a little longer, act normal, keep his cool, but he was done fighting for a love that wasn't real. The next week, Leon played his part. He cooked Tracy's favorite stew, bought flowers for her mother, helped Amara finish her science project on volcanoes. He smiled, listened, and nodded at the right moments. But behind closed doors, he started packing his life into boxes, slipping them into the trunk of his car late at night. He called his job, explained everything to his boss, Mr. Carter, an old friend from the neighborhood. Mr. Carter understood. "I'll put in a call to Houston," he said. "They could use someone like you. Clean break. Fresh start." Leon felt hope for the first time in months. Houston was calling. A city where nobody knew his story, where he could build something for himself. He lined up a new apartment, set up interviews, and even found a church nearby with a men's group he could join. Meanwhile, Tracy was oblivious. She spent her days planning Instagram-worthy moments, talking about her big plans with her friends. Leon watched her, feeling a strange mix of sadness and relief. She didn't notice the changes, the missing shirts, the boxes in the trunk, the way Leon's eyes no longer lingered on her when she laughed. The night of the proposal arrived. Tracy had told everyone it was coming. Her nails freshly done, hair styled in sleek waves, a new dress shimmering in the light. Her friends and family crowded into the apartment's back room, ready to record the big moment. Leon played along, setting the table with candles, music, and a velvet ring box he'd saved for with overtime hours. They sat across from each other, the tension electric. Tracy's smile was all teeth, her eyes darting toward the back room. Leon reached for the ring box, but instead of opening it, he slid it across the table. "I heard what you said," Leon said, his voice quiet but steady. "All of it. I know I deserve better, and so does her daughter." Tracy's smile faded, her face going pale as she realized what was happening. From the other room, the whispers died. Leon could feel a dozen pairs of eyes on him, but he didn't care. This was for him and for Amara. Tracy tried to speak, but Leon stood up. He placed the apartment keys in her hand, walked to the door, and paused only to tuck an envelope into Amara's backpack. Then, with one last look at the home he'd built and the people who had never truly seen him, Leon stepped into the hallway and closed the door behind him. Tracy called his phone a dozen times that night, each call going straight to voicemail. She texted, pleaded, threatened, then demanded explanations. Leon didn't respond. By morning, he'd blocked her number, deleted her from every social feed, and started driving west. He stayed with Trey for a week, just long enough to gather himself and figure out what came next. His brother's house was small but full of love, real love, the kind that made room for flaws and forgave old mistakes. Leon started to remember who he was before Tracy, before the exhaustion and disappointment. He went to the gym with Trey, cooked breakfast for his nieces, and let himself laugh again. The move to Houston was easier than he expected. Mr. Carter's reference got him the job at the logistics hub. The work was familiar, but the environment was different. Supportive, warm, full of people who took pride in showing up for each other. Leon made friends quickly, bonding over pickup basketball, Sunday services, and long talks about everything from music to politics to heartbreak. His new apartment was small, but it was his. He hung pictures on the wall, photos of Amara's volcano, of him and Trey at a Falcons game, of his mother smiling in a faded frame. He let the quiet fill the space, learning to appreciate the peace that comes when nobody is yelling or demanding or criticizing. Every so often, Leon would think about Amara. He worried about her, about what Tracy might say or how she'd spin the story. That's why he'd left her a letter, folded carefully and tucked where only she would find it. "You are smart, brave, and kind," he'd written. "Never let anyone tell you otherwise. If you ever need me, I'll always be there." He sent postcards for her birthdays, never expecting a reply but always hoping she'd remember the time they built volcanoes together. Back in Atlanta, Tracy's world started to unravel. At first, her friends laughed off Leon's disappearance. "Good riddance," they said. "You'll find someone new." Tracy put on a show, posting old photos on social media with vague captions about fresh starts and cutting off dead weight. But behind the filters, reality started to creep in. The bills, which Leon had always paid without complaint, began to pile up. The landlord left voicemails that went unanswered. Tracy's new boyfriend, who she thought was an upgrade from Leon, disappeared after a few flashy dates, leaving her with nothing but a string of read but unanswered texts. At work, things soured too. The job Leon had helped her get by vouching for her with a manager let her go after a series of late arrivals and missed deadlines. Her mother's health, already shaky, took a turn for the worse, adding to the pressure. The friends who used to fill her apartment with laughter drifted away, tired of Tracy's drama and the new weight of her complaints. Amara, always the quiet observer, watched as the grown-ups she trusted bickered and blamed each other. She missed Leon. The way he listened, the way he always made time for her, even after a long day. One afternoon, while searching her room for a missing earring, she found the letter Leon had left in her backpack. She read it twice, tears rolling down her cheeks, then tucked it under her pillow like a secret talisman. At first, Tracy didn't notice the change in her daughter. She was too busy scrolling job sites and arguing with her mother about the rent. But Amara grew quieter, spending more time at the library and less time at home. Sometimes she'd walk past Tracy in the hall and shake her head, disappointment clear on her face. For the first time, Tracy saw herself through her daughter's eyes and didn't like what she saw. The days bled into weeks, then months. Tracy tried to reach Leon again, but his number was still blocked. She asked around, but no one seemed to know where he'd gone. It was as if he'd vanished, leaving only memories and an apartment that felt colder and emptier with each passing day. Meanwhile, Leon's life in Houston grew richer. He built a new circle of friends, started a side hustle fixing bikes for kids in the neighborhood, and joined a choir at his church. There were nights he still missed Atlanta, missed Amara, but he never regretted leaving. The peace he'd found was something he'd never known before. One Sunday, as he handed out water at a community fun run, his phone buzzed with an unknown number. For a moment his heart raced, but when he answered, it was Trey just checking in, making sure he was all right. They laughed about old times, about the Falcons' latest loss, about Leon's new reputation as the bike man. It was a small thing, but it made Leon feel grounded, connected to the past without being chained to it. Months turned into a year. Tracy's mother passed away, and for the first time in her life, Tracy felt truly alone. Amara, now a teenager, spent her evenings with school projects and new friends. The house was quiet. The old group chats with her friends dried up, and the few who stayed only came around to borrow money or gossip about other people's misfortunes. One evening, as Tracy cleaned out a drawer, she found the ring Leon had never given her, still tucked in its velvet box. She stared at it for a long time, her hands trembling. There was no audience now, no friends to laugh with, no one to see the tears that finally came. Amara, meanwhile, decided she wanted answers. She asked her mom about Leon, where he went, why he left, what really happened. Tracy tried to spin the old story, but Amara saw right through it. She dug out Leon's letter, the one he'd left for her, and read it again and again, holding on to his words like a promise. With some help from a teacher and a little online sleuthing, Amara tracked down Leon's address in Houston. She wrote him a letter, short, nervous, full of questions. Did he still like science? Did he remember their volcano project? Was he happy? She mailed it, not sure what to expect. A week later, Leon opened his mailbox and saw the return address, Atlanta. He read Amara's letter on the front steps of his building, sunlight warming his face as the words soaked in. He smiled, a real, full smile that came from someplace deep and long forgotten. He wrote her back immediately. He told her about Houston, about his new job, about the kids whose bikes he fixed on weekends. He asked about her school, about the volcano project, about her dreams for the future. He told her he was proud of her, and that she could always reach out, no matter what. The letters turned into phone calls, then video chats. Amara blossomed, her laughter returning, her curiosity rekindled. She told Leon about her plans to join the science club, about how she missed their Saturday cartoons, about how things weren't easy at home but she was finding her own way. Leon listened, always patient, always encouraging, never bitter. Tracy saw the change but didn't know what to do. She tried to build her life around image control and the approval of others, but when all the noise faded, she was left with herself and the echo of what she'd lost. Leon's absence wasn't just about losing a provider or a partner. It was about losing the one person who truly believed in her and her daughter, even when they hadn't believed in themselves. Karma hadn't struck with lightning or loud drama. It came slow, quiet, and devastating, through silence, through emptiness. Through the gentle but steady way Leon's dignity and kindness continued to ripple outward, touching lives even miles away. In the end, Leon didn't just walk away, he rose. Sometimes the quietest exits leave the loudest echoes, and the greatest love is the one we show ourselves. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful moments that remind us what truly matters. If you enjoyed this story, Please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story.